are families, some are farms. Is there places, is like a young farmer's farm, is that a place to connect with? Like, I always kind of worry about who you're going to get onto your farm if you brought new people on. Is there meeting places where farmers and like existing farmers and wannabe farmers can get together and feel each other out to make partnerships, or where's the best place to start?
Yeah, Landshare Canada is a website. It's actually, I think it's organized now by, it started by one of my students, and it's run by the Canada National Organic, I have to look it up. But anyways, people looking for land access, people looking to share land. There's a third one as well. There's 3 categories, so you can put your profile out there depending on which one you meet. And then, yeah, it's a fantastic site, really easy to navigate, and it's free.
I'm going to throw a question, maybe a provocative question, but is tillage always bad?
Yeah, sorry, is what?
Is tillage always bad?
Oh, no, I don't think so. And again, there's a fair amount of evidence around that. So much of it depends on how you do it, and again, how you manage it within a larger system. In fact, there's a friend of mine who's a farmer in Iowa that some of you have probably heard of. His name is Dick Thompson. And Dick Thompson has put together a farming system now, and his farm is in Boone County, which is some of the best soil in Iowa. And there's a number of interesting things about Dick. One is that he has now for 25 years operated his farm in terms of basically Sir Albert Howard's notion of, you return everything, there's no waste, etc. And so one of the first things he did on his farm when he decided to move in this new direction was to build a large pit with concrete walls that he uses for making compost. And so he composts all of the waste from his own farm, and also very selectively accepts waste from other farms, which he composts, and then that goes on his soil. But he has worked out a crop rotation now where he has 3 years of perennial grass, and he raises his livestock, and then he does corn and beans, and then it goes back to perennial grass again, and then he applies this compost on all of his land. And the average organic matter on soil in Boone County now, given the way farmers farm, is now down to 2%. The average organic matter in his farm is 6.7%. And Dick sort of made some news for himself because a journalist went out to talk to him after the drought we've just been through this year to see how Dick was doing. And one of the comments that Dick made was that he doesn't buy crop insurance because he doesn't need it. And it sort of went viral throughout the news media. How could a farmer say that in the middle of this drought? But basically what I'm saying is the system that I've put together doesn't make me vulnerable to the kinds of difficulties that come because there's enough moisture stored in his soil. I mean, his corn yields were actually about normal. And of course the perennial grasses, because of the perennial root systems that I mentioned this morning, they did fine. So I think that, and Dick uses a mower plow. When he brings his perennial grass back into production for crops, he plows it down. Now, when you do even mower plowing, which even I think is kind of questionable in terms of a larger tillage system, but when you do mower plowing once every 5 years, and you provide all of those other benefits to the soil that the system provides, then and again, as the evidence of his 6.7% organic matter, he's got to be doing things right in order to get to that level. So it's just one example of that. But the other thing too is that I think that given all of the benefits of no-till, and as we all know, there are a lot of benefits from that. Much of the information that comes out around that is not as reliable as it should be, because usually when you see the information, for example, about the energy conservation, and of course there is some energy conservation, but usually that isn't done on a full life cycle analysis. And back about, I don't know, 15 years ago, when John Gardner was the head of the Carrington Research Extension Center at North Dakota State University, he did research on farms in North Dakota has 3 different ecoregions: the tall grass prairie region in the east, the mixed grass prairie region in the center where I am, and then the short grass prairie region west of the Missouri River. So what he did was took 3 farms in each of those 3 regions, an organic farm, a no-till farm, and a conventional farm that were in the same basic ecology. And so they looked at, among other things, they looked at the performance of these 3 farms from the point of view of energy efficiency. And what they found was that the no-till farms were slightly less energy efficient than the conventional farms, but not nearly as energy efficient as the organic farms. And the primary reason was when you look at total energy flows, the organic farms weren't using energy, to produce fertilizer and transport it to the farm, etc. Whereas the no-till farms were still doing that in some instances. You had to use more inputs for the weed control and stuff. So when you look at total energy flows, your no-till doesn't always come out looking as good as it does when you simply look at the fact that you're using less diesel fuel for traction. But having said that, no-till systems that are managed correctly do have a lot of benefits, and the kind of no-till that the Rodale Institute is doing now, for example, of organic no-till, where they're using these crimpers, and then planting directly into that, and the results of that are looking pretty positive. I would love to do that at my North Dakota farm, but we got rocks on our farm, and those crimpers do not work when you got rocks in your field. So again, you got to think about your own situation, in your own ecology in terms of what works. So we do tillage on our farm. It's, what people call conservation tillage, but we have it in a crop rotation where we usually have each field in alfalfa for at least 3 to 4 years. So that's that restores soil, and then of course we use compost, etc. So you got to look at it in terms of the whole system. So we got about 10 minutes left. I would say some of you said that you were doing holistic resource management. I'd love to hear from somebody that's actually doing that and tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
If you are a holistic management person, could you please put your hand up? Don't be shy.
There you go, right there. Yeah.
I could talk a little bit about what we do on our place, and we just have livestock, so we just run beef cattle. But what we have learned with holistic management is that you have to look after your soil. It's the most important thing to start with. You have to figure out a way to improve that soil, get it healthy, add your livestock, make it healthier as you plant grapes, and then your benefits will just come. Everything just works out. It's quite amazing, actually. Yeah. Because from those added livestock, we have doubled what we can, our carrying capacity on our place. And so then the profits just appear.
So how long have you been doing this?
2002, we took our course. Yeah, and so by 2006, we had seen huge improvements, and now we are more than doubled on our capacity. We can do it in our place. So just, I think the most important part is dealing with that soil. We just have to get a healthy base. That's what I would find. We don't do any cropping on our place. We haven't since 91. We seeded everything down in 91 to some tame forage, and we have some native as well, but the tame forage was seeded in 91. And it was getting depleted by 2002. We were going to have to change something, and just adding cattle. That's what's improved our lives.
Well, one of the things that's always intrigued me about holistic resource management is it's holistic, right? You're looking at all of the resources and how they complement each other.
For sure. That ecosystem is so important.
is getting that healthy, making sure your mineral, your water and your soil and your energy cycles are healthy. That's all that matters. And from there you can, and it's very simple to do, anybody can do it. And it doesn't cost you anything. Very little bit of fencing just to, and add livestock. Yeah, that's really great. The other thing that we have experienced just a little bit of, we're not interested really in doing any of the cropping ourselves, but we were interested in seeing what cropping could be done and what the improvements are done. And you maybe know Gig Brown from Bismarck, North Dakota, has done some no-till stuff down there with polycropping, and my husband has been down a few times to see what's going on down there. And they have done some really interesting stuff with compost tea and some studies on how the fungicides and that are a problem. So with polycropping and adding this composting tea has really benefited that problems. Yeah.
Did you do field days on your farm for other farmers?
Yeah, yes, we did some field days down there with Gabe Brown and Ken Miller, and Josh Ducard is another holistic manager down there that we visited with him too. And I think there's more down there, but that's all we've gone to see. They do have a big conference in January or February down there. The NRCS does some stuff with people, and it's open to anybody to go. So it's very interesting. I think for any organic person, that would be very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Annette?
Yeah, we do holistic management and cropping, green crop. We came into holistic management just recently, in 2008. And so we do have our pasture land where we do the planned grazing, but we've also fenced off some of our grain land. And so when we do our green manure, instead of just tilling it down, we actually graze it first. So you get the benefit of the hoof action and the manure spread by four-legged critters instead of spreading it for the tractor. One of the other things we are doing just this year, we put in some fall rye so that we will graze that first thing in the spring, provided the season is good, and then crop that off in the fall, hopefully. And also do some swath grazing with red, I believe, millet. Apparently, it's very good for the cattle. But we want to get more into it. We've done intercropping before with sweet clover and, say, one of our grain crops, cereal crops. And we've been experimenting with a lot of that dual crops at the same time, so that you can transition your grain land then into a bit of a hay land in the next year because you've undercropped it or underseeded it. So those are just some of the experiments we've been doing with grain and cattle together.
Okay, thank you. I think we're close to the end of time here.
Pretty close. Is there anyone who needs to get another word in before I shut her down, honey? Okay.
And I missed the first part of the earlier conversation about feeding grain to livestock. But one thing I think that we have to look at, and what we're doing, I run sheep and cattle, teaching people to eat grass-fed animals. That's where my big market is grass-fed, not grain-fed.
If not, I would like again to thank Fred for his...
My pleasure. Thank you.